I was thinking on the last video that I did, it was fixing up a whistle tender, swapping out some parts, and it got me thinking about my rolling stock, because as I was setting up some track, thinking about that last video and how I cleaned all the trucks, I looked at one of my favorite pieces of rolling stock, and that's this 3-dome Sunoco tender. I really like the 3-dome ones. I just think they look cooler. But this particular one, if you can see it, its trucks are pretty nasty. Today I'm going to clean this truck up, get it spinning a little bit faster, rolling a little bit better, and also get that rust off so that it doesn't continue to rust. And then eventually this thing will completely disintegrate. So I've already done the front one. You can see the big difference between the two. And this just takes a little bit of cleaning, a little bit of elbow grease, not a whole lot of effort. So with this one, I'll just start and show what I've done with it. So first what I want to do is I want to take this whole bottom plate off that has the release for the coupler and the coupler itself. And that's really easy to do. If you can see in here, there's a tab here. So I get to focus. There's a tab there, there, and there's two back here as well. And they're just bent over. So you can just get a screwdriver in there, or maybe some small needle nose if you have them. I don't have those, so I gotta kind of lift them up, and just a little bit. You don't have to force it too hard. Now some of these might be a fight because they haven't moved in 60, 70, 80, 100 years, depending on how old your drains are. This is all just post-war stuff, so it's not too bad. But it is definitely rusty. So there we go. Got the tabs lifted up just enough. Get my screwdriver in there, and I can pry this off. I'll just get a little bit more. There. All right. So that is what I'm dealing with. So I want to get all of this out. And like I said, it's not that big of a deal. Most of it will scrape out. The spring here, it is pretty rough. But just by using a flathead, can get a lot of this stuff off. Most of it, in fact. I just want to, get a lot of this rust off to stop it from rusting more or quicker. I'm sure it'll still rust. And B, to get the axles running, because they sit right in here, right where the screwdriver is. That's where the axles sit. So to clean all of this out, get it free of rust, is going to help everything move just a hell of a lot better. And there won't be as much drag coming from the cars, and the engine won't have to work as hard. And that just saves on the motor and all kinds of things. So, as in my other videos, I love the green Scotch pads. This is what I use right here. And I don't put any cleaner or lubricant or anything on them when I'm using them, for the most part. I do from time to time, but it's not something I do very often. Because I just don't need everything coated in oil and grease. And these pads on their own, they do a pretty good job. Okay? So I'm going to get onto this spring. Just going to ball it up. And you can see this pad has already been used to death. Probably swap out for another one. But this will be good to get things started. The only thing I can't get to is I can't get to the underside of this spring because this is a rivet that holds it in. And I'm not about to remove the rivet. It's fine. I mean, I take good care of these, but I'm not going to go overboard on them. So just do a little bit of a wipe here. I'll get myself a new pad. I got a nice small little square. I just cut it into an even smaller strip so that it's easier to manage. We got a little more bite now on the pad. And again, you don't have to push very hard at all. The pad will do a lot of the work for you. There we go. I'm going to get there's a lot of rust on the front side of this. Just a couple little swoops. It doesn't really affect the paint much. I mean, if I was really to go to town on it, I'm sure it would. Take some of it off, but not enough to bother me anyways. And I mean, if it really bugs you, you can repaint this thing. But I'm not gonna. Because I like the worn look. I've always liked the worn out look. Because that's really what these things looked like when they were working. Rolling stock's not clean and pretty. Has a lot more character when it's got some weathering. The right weathering. Just blow out the extra dust there. And this release already works much better. Now this coupler's not too bad. This other one was quite rusted. So actually what I do use though, and I will do it on this one, this is where some of my chemical will come in, is I use Release All. I don't have a sponsor yet or anything. This is just stuff that I use. So Release All, it's kind of like a WD-40, but I don't believe it's water-based. So it's not going to actually cause anything to rust again, like I believe WD-40 can eventually. So I just give it a shot there. Excuse me, a shot right in the coupler itself, just a little bit. That's all it really needs. You can work it in like so. And already it's releasing the coupler much better. So also what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the release back and get in there a little bit with my scrubber in case there is any rust on it, which there likely is something. So just on this pin here is what I'm going for. I just want to give the pin a little bit of a wipe. Again, not too hard because I don't want to bend it. And already you can hear it. It's much better. Okay, so and I certainly don't need all this excess oil, Release All stuff over everything. So I give it a wipe down, wipe off all the excess. It's going to give a nice coating to the metal surfaces, the white metal. It's going to further remove any grime that was on it. So the cloth will get that all off. And you do put a nice little film on some of these other surfaces that you might want to protect a little more, like this spring. And if it sits in this trough where the axle runs through, even better, because then it's giving it a little bit of lubricant. So there we go. That's this piece done. Quick and easy. Now we can go to the truck itself. So the one thing I noticed while I was working on the tender in the last video was the wheels actually starting to split and chip. And one side of this car, on one of its wheels, it already had split. I don't know if you can see that, but it's doing like what I see the pre-war stuff's wheels are always chipping and falling apart, and I can't remember why it does that. One of you guys know, I'm sure, and can post it in the comments. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to get my green pad, nothing on it, and give the wheels a bit of a wipe. Just removing some of the surface rust and also the dirt that's on the wheel itself. So this wheel is starting to go. So So I'm going to pull that one off, and you can just separate them by hand, give it a pull. And you can it's also a good time to clean the axle off if you need to. That. The axle will come through. And most likely you can just grab it and twist it out at the back with a pair of pliers. There we go. Okay, easy. Get the vise out of the way. And so what I do is I just swip the ends in a little bit of grease. And I actually use petroleum jelly as the grease for all of my Lionel stuff. Drop it just back in there. Put the other one in. Get the trusty vise out. Just give them a tap. Like that. There we go. There's one side through. Two. So there, we've got our wheels back on. Everything's spinning nicely where it's supposed to be. So the way they come out is you just pull outwards on the frame and they just pop out. And you don't have to pull too hard on them because you don't want to warp this piece. I've seen some that were actually twisted. Like one end went this way, the other went that way, and then the trucks don't ride on the tracks anymore. Okay, so that's a lot of the surface rust off of this thing. Again, I'm not going to go too far on this part because it's not affecting the actual operation of the car or how it rolls. But what I am going to do, because this one's got a lot of grime between the actual frame and this pivot point. So again, just going to give it a shot. Just a little bit. And work it around. Already much better. So now I can put the trucks back in. One thing to keep in mind about these, this tab, if you look on the underside of some of them, this one doesn't have it, but this tab here, when this truck pivots, it actually will hit some stops to keep it from spinning 360. I noticed some tenders actually have it. So this tab, as a rule, what I find, usually points inwards on the car, away from the coupler. So that's one way to think of how to get your positioning for these. So you can either put the trucks into the frame first, or you can put them into this bottom part first. Doesn't matter. What I do is I hook them in, one side in, bring it around, pop it back into the frame. This one was bent a little bit too far back, so correct that, and then just pinch it down. Like so. So, and like so, and that's it. We have a nice new clean set of rollers, and we have a coupler that now opens and closes without sticking, so we can couple up our cars. I'm just going to throw these now back onto the body itself, like so. So remember to keep these things in camera view. And just drop the screw back in, tighten her up, and we will throw it back on the track. Phillips. There we go. Back together. Good as 30 years ago. All right, so that was my video for today. Just cleaning and lubricating the trucks on some cars. And now I'm going to put this all back on the track and I'm going to run them. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you on the next video. Bye now.